It's not a dream that I share. So, Lewis, you're fired.
Hello, Lewis. How are you?
Hello, Shoaib. How are you?
4 years later, how would you sum up your experience on The Apprentice?
I think I was getting very annoyed quite a lot of the time because I can tell that they're trying to make you look bad or they're trying to make you say things that you wouldn't usually say. And the reason I brought you back is because I said Sawyer is taking advantage of people. He's there saying how tattoos are disgusting and that my kids will be ashamed of when I'm older. And I've never done anything to this guy. I was in the shit and I was about to go really bankrupt at like 29, 30. I remember that summer I was walking around Manchester and everyone was having a great time. I could like smell barbecues in the air and I was like, how am I going to afford to pay the bills? The car is going to get taken away, sort of thing. I don't want to fit your mold. Most people never really go, I'm going to do this is the path I'm going on, I'm going to chase that goal. Like, we will run away from the police as we set smoke bombs off.
That is so fucking stupid.
I've never...
Hello, Lewis. How are you?
Hello, Shoaib. How are you?
I'm great. The last time we met, it's actually the first time we met, and also the last time, we had an electronic scooter incident, didn't we?
We decided to ride scooters. That was a great idea. So, okay, it was my idea because I'm used to riding them around cities. And then everyone else was drinking, so everyone else thought it was a great idea. And what happened?
Charlotte, who's in my team, cracked her rib.
Did you actually crack it?
Yeah, she cracked her rib. Did you? Yeah, actually cracked her rib. She was in pain the next day, and she said it was worth it though.
Yeah,
it was a good night out.
You should probably give reference. So what happened was we were sharing scooters because we didn't have enough apps. Yeah. So I had you like Titanic grip. Like, he was basically Kate Winslet in this, and he was like this, and I was holding him. We were doing perfectly, and there's two girls sharing, and we just looked up, and next minute they went straight into a wall.
Yeah.
That was it was so funny and bad at the same time.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you can't laugh. It was like,
I wish we got a photo before we helped them back up.
Well, you know, it's bad when people stop on the other side of the road and go, ooh.
Yeah. They were laughing though. Charlotte was laughing when she got back up, and then the next morning she wasn't laughing.
I'm not surprised. I had bruised ribs.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
but I don't remember crashing.
I'm glad this space is much, more risk-free.
Well, actually, I brought with me. Now I'm joking.
No electronic scooters. No, but I'm really excited for this episode because I feel like you've got so much that ties into the Rebels podcast and the theme and the idea and what we're all about here and the type of guests we have. But I want to just kind of go back to the beginning a little bit before we dive into what you're maybe more known for with stints in reality TV, digital marketing stuff that you're doing, and really cool, innovative, disruptive marketing. But what was it like growing up?
Someone asked me earlier on what I was doing when I was a kid, and I was like, I was a little terror, but not in a bad way. Growing up for me was me, my brother, my two sisters, and then my mum was a single mum, and then my two cousins came to live with us as well. So you had a house with 6 kids and one parent supporting everyone. So for anyone who's from a big family or who has a single parent will probably know that there wasn't much money around. Times were quite tight a lot of the time, but we made the best of it. We never went without, but it was always a case of like every like Christmas was a struggle. Every birthday was like hard. So that it was quite tough. And I was the oldest one, so
right.
I remember everything because I was the oldest one, so I used to see it all. I used to see my mum struggling to buy things at Christmas and stuff. My brothers and sisters can't really remember that sort of stuff.
Do you think that maybe had like an impact on you in terms of kind of your career and your relationship with money as well?
Yeah, 100%. You think I'd be better at actually saving money at this point, but I'm not. I'm really bad with it. Which is probably actually the cause of it, because I'm like, I've got it now, use it quick. Yeah. But for me, I think it definitely made me who I am today. It definitely made me resilient to the fact that I'm doing this thing and it doesn't matter what you tell me because your life's different to mine, sort of thing. And it also made me realize that I didn't want what we never had before. And I've said it a lot like that, and it actually pisses my mum off when I do, because she's like, we never went without, and we didn't go without, but we also never got to do all the things that a lot of the other families did. And they get a nice bike for Christmas, or they go on holidays to Paris and all that sort of stuff. And and they go even just going to the corner shop and not being able to buy sweets. I remember those times, and like my friends would obviously share things with me, but yeah, it's tough as a young person. And I thought, when I grow up, I want to make sure that my family doesn't have to go without. I don't want them to be spoiled, but I want to make sure that we're comfortable. And I didn't see any other way of doing that than just working my ass off. Like I still can't see any other way that you can get where you want to be without grafting.
Yeah, 100%. But interestingly, you talk about school in a way that doesn't necessarily reflect that, like your journey in the education system.
Yeah.
How was that for you? Were you like an academic student, or were you a bit of a terror, as you described.
Yeah, no, I was definitely cheeky. I was very mischievous and cheeky, and I used to always mess around. And I remember just like little things, like winding people up, distracting people was my forte. And it wasn't because I was bad. It was because I think I was just bored. Like I still to this day struggle to sit down in a quiet space and pay attention to one thing. I'm a very visual, hands-on learner. So for me to learn something, I need to be doing it myself. If you talk at me in front of me, I will be dreaming of unicorns and spaceships in 5 minutes. Even at 32 years old, I'm constantly like, I'll nod and I'll agree and I'll talk back to you and I won't have a clue what you just said. And I think that's never gone away. And it's because I'm just a different type of learner. So a classroom setting is tough for me. And I think as a result, I would just start to do other things and mess around and have fun to try and entertain myself. And so I was very cheeky, mischievous. But I actually did well in school still. I think I got decent grades at high school. But then when going to college is when it started to slip for me because I didn't have to be there anymore. And I'd also started working as well. So I was making money and I was working in nightclubs as well. So I was partying a lot. So I didn't really see much value towards the end of high school.
Yeah. So after college, did you go to uni? What was the path after that?
Yeah, so I went to a sixth form first. It was, I remember it actually, probably wasn't my fault this. The whole entire year failed. Everything. So it was the second year this sixth form had been open as part of the high school.
Yeah.
A lot of the teachers kept changing throughout the year, and nobody really learned what they needed to learn. And at the end of that year, I remember that more or less everyone failed psychology. So some of the things that I'd studied, we all failed it, like as a group.
Yeah.
And the other stuff, it was just like really low marks. I assumed it was my fault, obviously, because you go and you study, you think, I'm failing at this, I'm a failure. And I decided that I was going to go to college instead of sixth form and start again and do sports because I was playing sports. I enjoyed being sporty and active. I studied sports. I got about a year through that, and then I started missing a lot of the lectures, turning up late. I would be there like 6 hours late to the start of college. You know, it's like getting there.
It's the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be getting there and they're like, why are you even here? And I'd be like, oh, just slept in. And I was working a lot in the evenings, so I wouldn't get up in the morning. So I failed again for a second time. And then I had one last ditch attempt. I was 18 at this point, so 16, 17. Yeah, 18. I was just turning 18. And I went and I did one more sort of semester at a college in Burnley, doing something, again, I think it was sport related. I can't remember being there, to be honest. I was there for a few months and then I dropped out and I went abroad.
Abroad, tell me about that. Where did you go?
So whilst I was studying at college, I was working in nightclubs and I was talking to a lot of people, and I met a group of travel reps, and they were working abroad in the summer and they were back for the winter, and I was like, this sounds cool. They were like, my job is basically we go on holiday and we stay there all summer and we party and we look after the guests and we get to the booze cruises, the boat parties, and I was like, this is amazing. So I walked down to Thomas Cook and I got the brochure out of the Thomas Cook thing, 1830, and I read the magazine and I found out it was a TV show, so I was watching that at home and I was like, this, for an 18-year-old to see someone leading bar crawls, 300 people, and like being the one that's life of the party and gets to look after everyone and gets a free holiday all the time. I thought it was the most amazing thing. So I read this brochure and he said, if you want to be a holiday rep, do you think you got what it takes? And I applied. And I think I was doing the application process in my third year of college, that third time I went. And then when I got the job, I just dropped straight out and went straight abroad. And my first season was in Bulgaria.
How was that?
Pissed me off, right? Imagine you're 18, looking forward to going abroad to like Ibiza and Kavos and Mali and all these. Falaraki was a thing back then. Yeah. All these cool places, and they were like, and you're going to Bulgaria, and I was like, I have no idea what's there. Like, I was like, is there a party resort there? Is there a beach? It sounded, you might as well say I was going to Russia. I was just like, this is the worst thing ever. And all my friends had really cool locations as well. But it turned out it was amazing. It was a real eye-opener. 18 years old, you don't realize how young you are, wet behind the ears you are. And I'd never been outside my town where I lived, really. Came into Manchester occasionally, but I'd never really strayed too far out the countryside. And yeah, it was a real eye-opener for me, because for the first time I've been introduced to people from all around the world. I realised that life was a lot harder than I thought it was. I was paying for myself, living on my own, eating my own food, and having been responsible for hundreds of people every single night that I wasted, getting injured, getting robbed, and all of a sudden I was having to be a grown-up, which was...
That's tough. At 18?
Yeah, it was class. It was class, and I say it like that because it was class as a learning curve. Because who really ever gets to learn all that thing? Like, most people don't know how to deal with I'd never had any deaths, but like robbery. Someone breaks into the house and robs them at knife point and stuff like that. Like, or like we had one group of guests that got robbed one night. We moved them a room and they got robbed in the next room the next night, and someone stole the lemonade in the fridge because there's nothing else left. It's like, how do you console people who've been robbed of everything, and then they went and got a bottle of lemonade to make themselves feel better, and the next night that gets stolen out the fridge, and it's like learning to deal with these really tough, because obviously they come straight for you because you're the rep, you're responsible for it, and they come at you screaming. So for me, it was a real eye-opening, awesome experience, and a lot of it was sales-based as well. So I was selling 24/7, and it was highly targeted in that space.
Yeah, I always say like that hands-on practical experience is just irreplaceable. Yeah. Like I went to uni and then did 4 years. It was a 3-year course and 1 year in industry. That 1 year in industry, in the first 2 months, I learned so much more than my entire degree taught me. Because when you're given that responsibility, you're doing the job, you're coming up with problems and solutions to those problems. That level of like responsibility is like mega, which is why I also love working in startups, especially. Yeah. And there's a big wave at the moment with like graduates going into like very corporate grad schemes, and that's kind of glamorized as the only route into a successful career, when actually startups and entrepreneurship is not given the same platform that a lot of other opportunities are. So I find that really interesting.
I will probably talk about business later, but that environment is like baptism. Same as a holiday rep, it's a baptism of fire. You're in a place where you just have to figure it out, because if you don't figure it out, you are screwed. And that is the best type of learning in any space. Yeah,
100%. So how long did you do that abroad? How long were you a holiday rep?
I think I was abroad non-stop until I was 21. So 19, 20, 21. So it's like summer, winter. It's like 3 summers and 3 winters, ski seasons. And then I would still do it while I was at uni as well. So I actually went back to university at 21.
Why is that?
Well, it's 2. One, to freak my mum out, because she was like, what is he doing? He's mental. Like, he's never going to get through uni. And the other one was because I met a lot of really successful people in a ski resort. I was in Switzerland. For the first time in my life, I'm around people who are successful business owners, financiers from London, really, really powerful stories. These guys like had it all going on. They were really wealthy. And I was like, what the hell? And I like hounded them. So the entire time they were there, while I was there, I was just hounding these people constantly, like asking them questions, learning from them. And they all said the same thing. They said, go back home. You're never going to make money as a holiday rep. Go back home. You want to start a business, right? And I was like, yeah, I want to start a business like you. And they were like, go and get a job, get some money and start a business with that cash, start a side hustle and build it. Or, go to university, get a degree and get a trade sort of thing, and then use them skills to build a business. So that's essentially the advice I was being given. It was, I was wasting time abroad. That's what they were telling me. I was only 21 years old. They were like, yeah, fair enough, party and everything. But past that point, what else are you going to do? And my friends already started moving through their careers at 21. They'd gone from uni, whatever, in the normal traditional route. So I was feeling like left behind. So it was a big step for me. And I rang my mum and I said, I'm coming home. I'm going to go to university. And she was like, you can't go to university. You never finished college. And I was like, watch me. And I managed to figure out a way to get in there. You do like a foundation degree, and then you work your way into a normal degree.
That's like really impressive, just because for somebody who's gone through the thing abroad and been a holiday rep for a number of years, and then switching a little bit older when maybe your friends have already kind of started climbing that career ladder, and then actually thinking and realizing, okay, I need to put the hours in, put the time in, study, get my skills, and then go back and smash it. Yeah, like that. I think not a lot of people have that kind of trajectory. It's usually the other way around, right? They go to uni and then figure stuff out. So I think that's commendable.
I think it was a weird moment for me, because whilst I loved being abroad, I loved partying, I loved skiing every winter, I love being on boats in the summer. I was looking around at 21 and I was seeing a lot of these 30-year-olds. They looked old to me back then, but 30-year-olds who were in the resort. They'd been there for 10 years, and they didn't look happy. They were just there because they had no family at home. They never built a career, so they had nothing else to do. And that's what I got from that. I just looked at them and I was like, I don't really want to end up like that. I want to actively chase what I want to achieve. I want to have a path in. I want to go for it. I didn't want to just float. And I felt like the 3 years prior to that, I'd just been floating because I kicked out of college. And whilst I was a holiday rep, I was just sort of floating around. There was no real ambition to. It's not going to lead anywhere. I couldn't see my life doing that. So it was really tough, actually, not to stay, because I wanted to keep drinking and partying and skiing. And looking at 4 years of study, and after failing college, I was like, this is going to be tough. But it was 3 originally, and then I did an extra one. But Yeah, no, it was a weird choice and it was a hard choice to make. And most people never really go, I'm going to do this. This is the path I'm going on. I'm going to chase that goal. But that was my mindset. Is I didn't want to have to just end up like everyone else did in my family. I didn't want to just be floating along. I wanted to make a decision and go for it. So that's kind of like what it was.
Yeah, I love that. Like breaking the cycle, really.
Yeah, essentially.
You kind of nonchalantly said, your mum thought you'd never finish
Yeah.
your degree. Tell me more.
She never
about
thought
that.
I'd get into the degree.
I guess she never. Okay, right.
She was like, "What are you doing? You failed college." So she was like pretty teary when I got the degree. I was pissed because what happened is I'd missed the deadline for the. Two things happened that year. Third year I'd missed. I got drunk one night and I was hungover and did an exam and I got 7%.
7.
So my entire module was capped at 40.
You know what? That's impressive.
Well, I redid it again. I got 99%. So if I'd done it right the first time, anyway, long story short, I dragged my grade down and I had one chance to hit my 2-1 target that I had in my head with the dissertation. I just slightly messed that up. So if I hadn't failed the module, I would have got 2-1. If I hadn't messed up the dissertation, I would have got 2-1. Unfortunately, I didn't get 2-1. So whilst my mum was very happy, I didn't want to go get it. I was like, nope. I was like, I'm not in the mood for this. Because I set myself a target and I thought 2-2 was a failure. I know it's not, but you get told that. And I was like, I don't want to come all the way through this thing and pay all this to just take away an okay grade. So I was like, right, master's degree.
You did a master's after that.
More out of spite because I didn't want to take a 2-2.
I love that.
Which is, it's a stupid thing thinking of it now. I mean, it was good.
Did you get the 2-1 in
Yeah.
the master? I love it.
I know,
love
yeah.
that.
It's hard 11. I was like, I got that. So now I just put 2-1 on things. Like,
Yeah.
I did check it. Screw you.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. So, like, if you flop one exam or you miss a couple of marks on one paper, that could like drastically affect your end of year grade, and that could be the difference between a 2-2 and 2-1. And something that really pisses me off about employers is a lot of them say on job applications that you need to have minimum 2-1 to even apply for this job. And I think, is there really a difference in a candidate's ability, whether they got like a high 2-2 or a low 2-1? What's 2% difference going to make? It's a couple of marks on a paper in a very specific context, talking about a very niche topic, I'm sure. Like, it's mad that we still, a lot of companies still follow that kind of, I guess it's a bit of a snobbery, right?
See, this is what I was faced with. It's not a bigger thing now, but like just 9 years ago, it was a big thing, and 2-1 was a big thing. If you didn't have it, you couldn't even apply.
Yeah.
Interestingly, so I did get a master's and I got a 2-1, and I went. This is a weird thing. So I was earning like at this time like 22 grand. I was working as a bar manager in Manchester. So I was working nights. Basically, throughout my master's degree, I had to pay for it as you go. So I worked every single night in, whatever days and nights I could in bars and restaurants, and I would study all day. And it just about covered the cost of the degree and the fuel to and from and the car insurance. So I was basically earning zero, like literally zero for a year. My mates would call me scruffy and everything because I couldn't go out, couldn't go drinking, was wearing crap clothes. Like, I still wear crap clothes, so nothing's changed there. But the point is, I was really struggling for that 1 year. And then when I finished, I was earning 22 grand and I was like, right, time to get a job, because now you get a job that you earn loads of money.
Yeah.
I applied. The first one I applied to, they said they couldn't consider my application because I never got A levels. Right? And my argument was, well, I didn't need A levels because I did a foundation degree, then a degree, then a master's. They went, no, we don't need degrees. You need to have minimum A levels to get into this.
That is so fucking stupid.
I've never, and because obviously this woman's talking to a younger person, she was speaking like shit to me on the phone. I was like, I don't understand how I can have a master's and you're saying I can't apply because you need A levels. And I was like, but we don't do A levels because I did foundation. You know what I mean?
That shit pisses me off so much.
Right? So you just said there about how petty they are. That really upset me. Because obviously I've just finished uni and I'm really excited. The first place I wanted to work, that was caught back, by the way. Say that on camera. They deny it. But the point is, it made me feel like shit. And then I applied for loads of jobs around Manchester in marketing roles. I couldn't get any of them.
What did you do next?
I took a job at the lowest level I could find. Well, the only one that would take me was £16,000. And it was working in city centre Manchester. So when I thought that I was going to finally have some money to, buy some clothes and spend time with my friends, I was now earning even less. I mean, I didn't have the same expenses of the university cost obviously, but I was still earning less. I was paying in pennies for car parking. On my lunch break, I couldn't afford to eat food. I used to literally just either take food from home if I had it there, or I would just walk around the city on my lunch breaks. And that's what I did for another year and a half, working for an absolute dickhead of a person who still works there.
Drag him.
Well, it was a female, and she was the nastiest person I think I've ever met. And I think the reason behind it was, when I look back now, I thought it was just a nasty person, but actually I think it's because that person looked at the fact I had qualifications as a negative because they were threatened about their own knowledge of marketing, so therefore tried to treat me like shit.
There's a lot of politics in the workplace, like a ridiculous amount where for in some job roles, like half your job is managing like office politics and not stepping on people's toes and trying to balance that line. And it's wild to me that, you know, the people can spend 40, 50 years in that environment, because I couldn't do it.
I think for me, it started the cycle of almost horrible feeling when going to work. I'd been excited. Don't forget, I changed my path from working abroad and enjoying the environment, trying my ass off for 4 years after failing uni, getting the grade, and doing another year of studying, struggling to pay for it, and then only to then finish, not be able to get a job, be told that I can't get a job without A-levels when I've got a master's, to be treated like crap in the first role I've ever had. I thought I'd made the biggest mistake I've ever made. Yeah.
So after that kind of role, what happened next?
I went on to work for a really cool guy. So I saw a guy starting a company in Manchester. He's done really well. I think he sold it for millions and millions and millions. It was a tech startup. He sort of took me under his wing, and I worked for this guy for about a year and a bit. He was the co-founder of Music Magpie when that first started. He started his own company called Push Doctor. It was like a tech platform for doctor's appointments. Awesome place to be. I was the first time treated like a real marketing person. This guy was so awesome. He used to have his meetings in London, and no reason to take me with him. He'd just take me down there to go sit in these big marketing meetings with these big branding companies with all these beanbag cushions and fucking furry shit on the wall. Do you know, like...
That is sick. Because that, like, experience and that investment into you, and that just through osmosis, you're absorbing all this knowledge and this expertise, and just even having a seat at the table, I always say, is so important. And if any like employees are listening and they have young people, interns or apprentices in their organisation, please consider giving them those opportunities, because a lot of the time it's you've got to wait your turn, right, until you've got to work at a company for a year or 2 years, prove your loyalty, work your way up, and then you get those opportunities when there's so much talent being wasted because those people aren't being given a fair shot.
I think you should drag people into wherever. For example, a young girl messaged me via my website and said, I'm studying marketing, advertising. I've been told I need to get some experience. Everywhere I go, they tell me they get me to go and sit and write blogs for them, but she wants to do advertising. And we were filming an advert, so I was like, cool, man, jump in. So we took her down with us, had her on set all day, running around. She was the runner. She was looking after the extras, the actors, the film crew, assisting them. End of the day, she was like, that was sick. And I'm like, now when she goes into a meeting, she's got a passion for it. She's excited because she's making the right decision, and she's got direct experience. She can go, this is what I helped make. But I was, if I hadn't had that guy that had taken me with him and sort of helped me understand what marketing was more about and see a successful businessman building a product, I would never have stuck in it. I would have just shot off abroad again.
So what made you then want to go on The Apprentice?
Yeah, well, fast forward a few years, I'd been working my way up. So I went from assistant to exec and then marketing manager. And then I worked in this brand, multiple brands, like huge brands with Argos and Boosts. I was doing really well in marketing and I was really getting clever, as in people were starting to look at me like a golden child. So I'd come up with these little theories and I'd test them and then we'd sell loads of shit. It was like we're selling millions of hairdryers, right? And then I just found this little weird way of making it better. And then we'd sell 1,100,000 hairdryers and they'd be like, he's a genius. So I was starting to be treated like golden boy. So I was like, oh, maybe I've got something like I can start I always wanted to be a business consultant. I always thought I'd go into businesses and help fix them, like that bar rescue program. So I thought maybe I can do it with marketing.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by Fabric, a marketing training academy that runs a world-leading master strategy program for marketers looking to excel in their careers. The program teaches you frameworks that have been used by global brands and coaches you how to build a live marketing strategy in just 12 weeks. Now, I personally know many people who have completed Fabric's program and who have benefited directly from getting promotions and accessing dream job roles to accessing increased marketing budgets and gaining the confidence to excel in their careers. Fabric is kindly offering listeners of this podcast 10% off their program so you can secure your place on it. For more information, check out the link in the bio. Use code REBELS10 in all capitals to claim the offer.
So on the side of my job, I actually started just finding companies and saying, "Hey, look, you've got my very first client was a PT fitness company." And I said, like, look, I don't really know what I'm doing. You haven't got any money, but why don't I just work with you and help grow your business? If it grows in the first year, you start paying me, and then we'll keep working. And we did that, and we grew his business like this. And I was like, that was sick. Started doing more freelancing. Anyway, I've been doing that freelancing, and I'd started to decide I wanted to start my own company one day. I already knew that anyway, but an agency is what I was thinking. Started interviewing agency owners around Manchester. Yep. I would sit down with them just like this and record videos. They're on my YouTube channel. If you want a real blast of the past, go on. It's horrible. Just got this chunky guy like, tell me how you start a business. Like, I obviously ate all the cake. So I was a little bit tubbier, should we say. And I recorded these. I put them on my channel because I was destined to say, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to learn from these guys what they do because I want to copy them. Did that throughout the summer. And whilst I was doing this, I was in the gym and I saw an application thing come up for The Apprentice. And at this period, I've worked my way up in marketing and I'm starting to be treated like, you know, I'm a little wizard and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. I'm working for myself freelancing with only small clients, but I've been doing that for like a year. I am interviewing entrepreneurs about how to start a business. I'm getting in a position because I'm going to start a business, right? But I'm making sure I know what I'm doing first. And the Apprentice came up and I went, you know what if that was meant to see that? Like, what if that's the starting point? Like, because I saw it as, I go on there, I tell them who I am, what my experience is, what I'm doing at the moment, and if they believe in the idea, then they'll give me investment to start a business. So I thought, I had the same thing where everyone thinks you need money to start a business. So I was like, oh, that's where I can get the startup money from. Turns out you just need to be stuck in shit to start a business. You're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to die if I don't.
100%. How would you sum up? We'll dig deeper into the actual experience, but how would you, upon reflection, because it was 2019, so 4 years later, how would you sum up your experience on The Apprentice?
I think it was really fun when I look back. So for me, I've always enjoyed things like escape rooms. Yeah. I've always enjoyed puzzles and challenges. And that's kind of what I saw. I thought every day it was like being in an escape room and you just got to figure things out. And some things you did you'd never done before, and obviously most of you never done before. But I just found it so exciting and fun. And now I look back, I'm like, that was like fun. It was like I'd pay to do that again. Go through that experience. I think that they tried to take advantage of you quite a lot. Obviously, we don't want to go into detail with that, but you sort of, while you're there, you're like, I was getting very annoyed quite a lot of the time because I can tell that they're trying to make you look bad or they're trying to make you say things that you wouldn't usually say. And I saw it as taking advantage of people. Yeah. But they do it year in, year out, so they don't care.
It's reality TV at the end of the day, isn't it?
I think I forgot about that. I thought it was, like I said, I went in there because I was like, I want to start a business. Maybe this is my chance. And I read Lord Sugar's book and I looked up to him and I was like, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do.
How much of it is scripted or orchestrated, would you say?
I would say orchestrated. All the producers make you do whatever they want you to do. Like, I think if they want you to lose, you'll lose. And obviously they make it so you can never tell who's won what. They definitely hold stuff up on purpose. They get in the way, they move stuff, they hide stuff. They say they don't, but it's obvious. It's not just me. I've spoken to the candidates from previous seasons. So that's very frustrating. But like you said, it's reality TV. They've got because in their head they've got a story that they're trying to write. Yeah, you know, they want you to come out looking this way. And
you all essentially play characters, right? You've got your villain, you've got the underdog story, and everyone's kind of got to fit a box.
The problem is that you don't know that. You think you're just being yourself.
Exactly.
And then their job is to try and mold you however they want you to be perceived.
When you watch The Apprentice back, what did you think of the way you'd been edited? Do you think it was an accurate reflection of you?
Yeah, I think so. I think, to be honest, I found it hilarious. It's like the funniest shit ever. Watching yourself like mess stuff up live is just, I thought it was so funny. I really enjoyed it. It was such great memories as well. And like, you'd be like, oh my God, this happened as well. There was a lot of stuff where you were the hero and you saved everyone's ass. Like you did in real life. I did a couple of times in these situations and like, that wasn't even shown. And then there's times when like I'd messed everything up, but they edited it to make it look like I'd saved the day. And I'm like, like it didn't, so that doesn't make sense. But I think it's a fair representation. I think like I came across, I'm just loud, garish. I got aggy on the first episode with someone shouting at me. If you shout at me in real life, I'll tell you to fuck off anyway. So it's like that sort of stuff is just me. I was just being myself because I never really thought about how it was going to come out on TV because all I wanted to do was start a business. Yeah, which is quite sad, really. I should have thought about long term and been like, oh, like how can I use this to my advantage and personal branding, all that sort of stuff. But I just feel like I was a bit younger. I didn't really realise that there was a benefit to after the show, which is weird, really. I should have really thought about that.
Do you actually have to get up like at ridiculous hours and get ready within like 20 minutes? Is that
yeah, you do. like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. The mad thing is the night before you'll have been in bed at like 10, at 1, sorry. So you get like 2 hours sleep and stuff like that. And the crew get even less. So they're really ratty. It's probably like the idea of getting up and getting ready in 30 minutes, like everyone's like, that can't happen. But it does, like they come around and chase you out. And it's like funny stuff as well. Like you wake up and there'll be a camera just there, you know. Or
There's always having shots in the morning where everyone's like rubbing their eyes on like shirtless people just getting out of bed.
Mine, it was just like I was in bed and just walking to the camera. I'm like, go away. Or like one where I was like coming out the shower. They were trying to get this shot of me in a towel, right? Because obviously they have to try and make someone look naked on TV all the time. And I come out and I could see like no one was in the room, right? And I could see the boom just like around the corner of the door. So I'm like, okay, so there's someone in this room. I'm like, I can't figure out where they are. And I look and I just lifted the duvet back on one of the beds and the cameraman was in the bed.
Oh my
just
God.
Filming out the corner of the sheet.
The angle.
I was like, dedication. Like, that is dedicated. I was like, get out of the room. So they are funny, and then a lot of them are nice people. I get that they're really ratty as well, but I think the producers and stuff like that, their job is to make you look a bit silly.
Yeah, I mean, you did well on The Apprentice. You got to the interview stage, which is that kind of iconic.
Yeah.
Like I actually saw before I even asked you to come on the pod, the viral clip going around of the kind of really funny interview moments.
Yeah.
And you had a moment on that where you were asked to locate, what country was it?
Croatia on a globe.
Croatia. You asked to on a globe, right?
Yeah.
Looking back at the interview process, because it looks very intense on TV.
Yeah.
Was it like that in real life?
Yeah. So we were there for like 9 hours, 10 hours.
Wow.
And you only get to see. So there's four interviews. You generally see clips from 3, and the clips are like a minute long. Which begs the question, like if I ask you loads of random questions for 9 hours. I bet you make a mistake.
Oh, 100%.
And that's all it is. It's a game. This for them is a waiting game.
Yeah.
Loads and loads of random questions, and they just wait for you to mess it up. And then when you mess it up, that's what makes it in. For me, I actually wasn't too bothered about that. I thought it was quite funny. I was pretty tired. I remember at the time I met Mike, he's called the guy at the Globe one. I could tell I was tired, even the way I answered, because I was stuttering in my words, and my brain wasn't really working. I was like, I haven't seen a Globe. Like, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that sad about it. And my argument is this: like, I'm not flying the plane. Like, I don't care what. I'm like, I'll book your flights and I will see you in the resort because I will get on a plane, I will land. I don't care what shape the country is.
Yeah, for context, just give people your business idea what it would have been.
Well, Hidden is, back then it was called Lost Travel, I think it was called. Lost Travel, which actually makes sense with the Globe thing. Mm-hmm. And it was about lost boys and like enjoying life. That's what I went in there with. I was going to go with the digital agency, but I didn't because they said, what if we give you 250 grand? I was like, oh, well, I'd start a travel company because I can start a marketing agency for less than that.
Yeah.
So I was really out of my depth. Like I'd not even planned for this prep, but I was going to take younger people away for large like groups to party places, and just give them a wild time for like a week, all included packages, but taking to places where you wouldn't really know, like Croatia, which wasn't really visited that much, like Bulgaria, which still isn't that visited. Just find amazing places like Vietnam, or just amazing places like that, are fantastic, but you wouldn't go. And the reason being because if you go there on your own, you tend to be traveling on your own, and there's only a small group of people, so you've not really got an atmosphere. But if you take 20, 30 people, you do have an atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And it's not. We've obviously spent 2 years sat on this because COVID came and took away my opportunity to start it and my job in marketing at the same time. So yeah, I've had a lot of time to think about it, and it's still sat there, and I'm building the website and I keep just delaying it because my other job's is to keep.
So it is something that's in the works for.
I've started building the website. We've got all the licenses. I've got an ATOL license. I've got all the accreditations. I've got all the insurances. Yeah. My mum's just been booking holidays with me. Like we just book my mum on holiday, and Luke's my business partner, his sister, and that. So we can just book people dead cheap holidays and amazing places, and we can do it. But we've just not built the website, which is dead lazy. But Hussel is taking all of my time because that's scaling. No, I never really thought about having 2 businesses at once. I never planned on that.
Yeah, that's a lot. Tell us a little bit about Hussel. Give people an intro into kind of what you do and how it's developed over time.
So whilst Hidden is dormant, and it has been since COVID hit, it literally just closed down our plans to launch that summer. It was in March when COVID hit back in 2020. At the same time, I lost my job. So I just got my first big boy job at an agency as a marketing director. I'd be running everything, and that was good salary, and I could use that money to start my other business, like I was told by them rich guys. And then COVID took everything all at once. I had no other way to survive, and by August, April, May, June, June probably time, I actually lost that job, and I couldn't survive. I had about a month worth of cash to survive in terms of food. I couldn't really afford to pay the bills. So I was looking for jobs and no one was hiring. There was no other way to... when I say this, I always think, I remember how bad of a time it was for me, but no one really seems to flinch. I'm like... Because I think everyone had furlough. There was very few, but there's a select few people that didn't get furlough and also couldn't make any money and couldn't get hired. And the only thing they were eligible for was like job seekers allowance or whatever, and that wouldn't cover anything. So during COVID, there was a lot, like about 1 million people that fell through this crack where they were going to struggle and there was no way to survive. But no one really gave a fuck. Like, most people didn't care at the time about those people. They were too busy, like, trying to stock up on toilet roll and stuff. So whilst I remember that summer, I was walking around Manchester and everyone was having a great time. I could, like, smell barbecues in the air and I was like, how am I going to, like, afford to pay the bills? The car is going to get taken away, sort of thing. And I just found, I can't remember how I found my first customer. I think I posted it on LinkedIn. I was like, I'm going to have to freelance to survive this, and found my very first client, who actually, weirdly, we still do their stuff for. We don't even offer the service we do with them anymore. We still do it for them. And that was like 3 years ago. And ever since that day in June, so June was when like I was in the shit and I was about to go like really bankrupt at like 29, 30. That's been, Hussel's paid for me to survive ever since. Now it's scaling. So, you know, we started off doing everything digital, websites, SEO, PPC. But about 7 months ago, I said, well, the first was about surviving, but now it's picking up traction. I want it to thrive. Like, where do I see this business being? What's it going to stand for? And I said, it's always going to be cheeky and mischievous. Like, that's my personality. I always want to inject my personality into the brand. What if we harness the power of that and be the most disruptive, creative market? Like, not creative because everyone says that, but disruptive, like cheeky, naughty. Like, we will run away from the police as we, you know, set smoke bombs off and drag a banner across a place.
Yeah, give people some context on some of the campaigns that you've done.
Yeah, so we do stuff like, I had to actually do some concepts to first. And like, graphic designers do concepts. I had to do that to get the ball rolling. But like, the first one we did was, we got like a fake Elton John, and we filmed an advert for Primark. It wasn't actually for Primark, it was concepts, but we filmed it for Primark if Primark had hired us. And we did it in real life. So everyone around us thought Elton John was walking down the street with a camera crew and fake security. And we were filming an actual advert in real life. So real time, the people in the street became our extras in the advert.
Right.
And that was what made it disruptive to me, because then obviously it goes viral on social media, which it did. And then we had an advert, which we could have then run if we were working with that brand. And that was the idea behind it. It was like, how can we make this campaign creative, but also so unique and different that nobody could replicate what we do? Yeah. And that's kind of what we've been doing ever since. Like last week in Dubai, we were doing this one where we had students from the local area with masks on their face. It was like a cancer awareness advert, but you're not supposed to do protests in the street. So we were running from the police all day with 50 students from Dubai. Like, and most marketing companies wouldn't do that because it's a lot of risk, and it is very awkward to run away from security or to have police question you but I think I almost apply this sort of YouTuber mindset. These YouTubers that create great content and fantastic, amazing ideas. It comes through the sort of mindset of don't ask for permission, but maybe ask for forgiveness. And I think applying that logic to marketing campaigns and getting a bit raw and getting a bit run and gun can lead to some great content.
Yeah, I always say, like, if an idea feels a little bit dangerous, you should probably do it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And like, just originality at the moment is, I mean, how would you describe the current marketing landscape?
Right now, I think it's very saturated from two sides. Firstly, there's a lot of new entrants and younger people entering. They were just figuring it out, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Confusing the shit out of the clients, by the way, but figure it out. And then on the other side of things, you've got these other companies and marketing people that are really struggling to keep on the ball with what's happening in the world. They haven't got time to keep learning what's happening. They haven't got time to learn new programs, platforms, or how TikTok's algorithm marginally changed. Most of them are still posting bloody graphics and posters and white papers and crap like that, because that's what they've been doing for the last 10 years. It's changing so fast that old ones can't keep up, and the new ones are taking advantage of that, but don't have enough knowledge or in-depth knowledge to do it well. So right now, it's very confused and saturated, and there's lots of new entrants, lots of old ones like marketing just clinging to what they've always done before. And then in-house, you've got these marketing people leading the pack who, if you ask them what sort of content you should post on TikTok, wouldn't have a clue. because they've never used TikTok. And I'm using TikTok as an example because it's the most recent social platform, but that's the space right now. And then you've got AI coming out, which is going to just mess with everyone again. Apple Glass soon with the VR, and I mean that's been not VR but like augmented reality. That's been coming for a long time. Google Glass tried it. Now you got Apple Glass, and when Apple does something, everyone will buy it. So how is that going to affect people walking around interacting with stores day to day? Could you have augmented adverts coming out? That's not even happened yet, and I'm like, that's going to happen really fast. So I think it's a very exciting time to be alive in this space, but it's a very confused, and I feel like everyone's trying to cling to that they know what they're talking about. But bottom line is, everyone is having to learn every day, and if you're not, you're never going to keep up with it.
I was going to ask, like, what advice would you give to a young person trying to break into the industry? But I think you kind of just said it there, like learning every day and just never settling. I
think for me, I absolutely love younger people breaking into the space. What I don't like is, so for me, I interviewed 10 entrepreneurs over the space of a year, and then started freelancing, not charging any money and working with it because I felt like it was fraudulent if I take someone's money and blag them. Because I can blag, don't worry, I can sell, but I didn't want to do that. And I think it's for younger people coming into the market, it's important that you don't blag people, because then you are acting in a fraudulent manner. I think you should be like open with them, saying, look, this is a new platform. No one knows what's going on here, but we think this. Or, I've built this platform on social media on TikTok, therefore I know what I'm talking about in this space. But then comes the danger of, just because you've got 2 million followers, that should have been what would you get cancelled for? Just because you've got 2 million followers on TikTok, posting pictures of baby goats screaming, doesn't mean you then have the right to then advise someone on what they should be posting, because it's very different, and you need to apply the marketing foundations behind it.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. Like the strategy and principles are, you can't just apply something that worked for one particular demographic or audience on one particular channel or platform. You can't apply that to everything. And I think having that, like, just honesty and rawness with clients is like, makes such a big difference. And I think people also respect that so much more. Like, if you're honest and say, listen, we've done this, it worked before, this is what we're going to propose for you guys in particular, but we're going to keep iterating, testing, optimizing as we go. I personally would respect that so much more than somebody who came to me and was like, we've done this, like, trust us, leave us to it. Do you know what I mean? And
I think the reason I say I think it's very important that people who do want to build their own business and stuff go for it, like, and chase their goals. I think for me, I'm very aware of things like Andrew Tate University saying you can just make money by going into a business and just blagging them, and it's like, no, it's not the blagging. It's if you really want to learn something, you go, right, I really want to learn how to be really good at this social media content creation, right? And then you understand, you go and read books on marketing principles, and you understand the logic and the theory behind it. You can learn that in a very short space of time. You don't need to go to university for that. But if you don't know it, you shouldn't pretend you know it. And that's where the being honest and open with people and clients are.
And also learning through application and execution is so important. Like, you can read all the books and have all the strategies and the principles, but unless you've actually applied it and like understood what it feels like, and then got data and then improved based on what the data that you've collected, and continually like iterating that 1% every single time, I feel like that's where you really become good at what you do.
And do it for yourself. Like, there's nothing. I hate, right, when I'm like trying to find someone to do social content. Like, I'm trying to find a great videographer who's good at TikTok and YouTube Shorts and stuff, right? And I'll go, can you show me some of the work? And they go, oh no, but I can film. It's like, no, but you're saying you're really good at this one thing, so like, can we see what you built on you? And I think that's, for me, that if you're going to pitch to a client and they're like, well, what did you do? You'd be like, well, here's a campaign where we did X, or here's where we went viral for doing this.
Yeah.
You can really show, and if you've done it for yourself, it's better, because you can be like, this is what we did for our business. Or obviously you can use client projects, but even then, you've got social media companies that don't post any social content.
Yeah, oh my god, like building your live portfolio online, like for freelancers and young startup founders, like your personal brand. Obviously, I'm going to say this because I run a personal branding agency, but like documenting your growth and your journey, and building those relationships with your audience, and showing results and showing case studies, and documenting your work. So many people are afraid of like putting their work out there into the world, but ultimately that's like the best way to grow, because it's like, you're not telling people you're good at something, you're showing them through actual results.
I find the most difficult thing for sharing sharing stuff from a marketing agency is that all the time I'm sat on a laptop. So how can I show that in a fun manner? And I've really struggled with this for 2 years, and I finally found this way of creating content which, here's from start to finish us on a campaign, and it's marginally watchable even if you don't care about marketing.
Yeah.
And I'll take that, because the truth behind it is 90% of it's just sat on a laptop typing on a keyboard. But you can always find something that you can showcase the world in a way that they're going to want to consume it, like entertainment.
Yeah, behind the scenes content's really good for that. Like the B-reel of or just like documenting the things you're working on.
Yeah.
But moving on to something else, which I'm just interested in from a selfish perspective, you've kind of blurred the lines between business and reality TV, and not just The Apprentice. You've also been on some other shows. Do you want to give us a quick kind of intro to what you've done?
There was I was single in summer, was it like 2 years ago now, and I got asked to go on a dating show. They didn't fucking say what it was, but it was a dating show, and it was during COVID, so I was like, nothing else to do. I'm stuck in the house, and they were like, "Oh, we'll put you in this this mansion." And the title for it at the time, I think it was called. What was it called? We got told a title like it was called like Flings or something, right? And they were like, "You're just gonna go on there and just date random girls, and if you get on with each other, cool." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I was like, "It's nothing really bad." They were like, "Nothing really bad," and then it came out as this great sex show thing, which is funny as hell. But to be honest, from my experience there, I think. I was probably wasted on it because I didn't go on there to have like threesomes with people and stuff, which if I'd known that was what it was about, I'd have got in there with loads of Viagra and a bottle of vodka. Like, go, I'm ready. But I thought it was a great sort of chance to do something different. And in terms of like, you say personal brand, I think for me, I'm like, my brand is I will be silly and I will do cheeky things and I won't be ever told. I think for me, it's all about never being told that I have to be a certain way ever again, because I've lived through that and I was sad. I don't care if you criticize now, because I'll never be as sad if you criticize me now than when I was told that everything I was doing was wrong through school, through college, through my first steps into a career. That's the most sad I've ever felt in my entire life. So now I just refuse to do what anyone ever tells me to do. Not in a bad way, not kicking out, like it's a little bit rebellious, I guess, but it's more about just, I don't want to fit your mold. I don't want to fit the mold that you have for me. And unless you've done it and you've made millions in a business, I'm not going to really listen to you, because what I want to do is grow a business to the millions. So therefore, the people I look up to and listen to are the ones that have been where I want to go. If you've never done what I want to do, then therefore I shouldn't listen to you ever. Yeah. I know that's a silly thing to say, but too many people have an opinion on people. So that show, I thought, yeah, fuck it, I'll go for it, because I've already done like ridiculous things. I was in the news when I was, even before I was on TV for doing silly things. Yeah,
you had a bit of Twitter beef with Lord Sugar, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, that was obviously when I was on The Apprentice. But that was another one being, he's there saying how tattoos are disgusting and that my kids will be ashamed when I'm older. And I've never done anything to this guy.
Lord Sugar said that.
Yeah.
He tweeted it, right?
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, I looked up to this guy. This is a real one then, because what you've got is a guy who I was looking up to because he has come from no money and built something. And I did respect him. I read his autobiography and he was acting like that. And I was like, he's just a dickhead. Like, I forget that just because someone's been where you want to be, they can still just not be a nice person. And I think that was a sort of realization. Great, never meet your hero sort of thing.
Did he get a tattoo of?
Yeah, it's there, man. Do you know what? Someone came up to me the other day. You can actually see it.
Yeah. Someone
came up to me the other day and were like, are you called Lewis? I was like, yeah. And they went, have you got second question, have you got a picture of Lord Sugar on your arm? I was like, yeah. And then they went, can we get a picture with it?
Oh my God. Right? Give people context who don't know the story of why you've got.
So he basically said tattoos are disgusting and that, people who have them are gross, basically. And so then I thought it was hilarious to get a picture of his face on my arm, holding a gun like, you fired. And I thought that was funny at the time. And then, he didn't respond, which is good. Anyway, I was going to say then someone asked for a picture with it. So I was in a bar and I had to do this for a photo of my arm. Like, that's the weirdest thing, isn't it?
I just love that kind of like mindset though that you have in general, which is being a little bit rebellious, like being dangerous, following what you want to do, and you have your values. Clearly you know what you want, and you have specific values, and you won't let anybody invade on that. And I think that's such a good lesson, especially for young people when it comes to their careers, when it comes to even relationships or just anything in life. Is doing things for yourself, and at the end of the day, you've only got yourself to be accountable to.
I think far too many people put restrictions on themselves based on other people's opinions, on their family's values, what their town does, what's acceptable in their city. And the bottom line is the world is way bigger than that. Everyone's in this little bubble, and we think that we have all these big, massive problems and all these things that we have to adhere to. But our bubble is tiny. Trust me, in the grand scheme of things. No matter how many people you think you know, it is nowhere near how many people are in the world, how many places there are. And my ethos was, I'm just going to be myself, what makes me happy, what I enjoy doing. And back then it was building a personal brand, right? I thought I was just a black sheep. I didn't fit in. I just thought that's what I was doing. But actually I was just being, these are my values. I posted it out on my Instagram. It's like the second post. I wrote a big long list of all the things I was never going to do in life and why I wasn't going to listen to everyone else and why I was doing this. And I felt that strongly about it. I posted it visibly on Instagram back when you used to post pictures of your food. And it's still there now. And I look back on it sometimes, and back then, everyone laughed at me. And they were like, what an idiot. Like, who do you think he is? But now I'm getting people saying, well, how do you manage to do that? And it's like, I just refuse to accept it that things are the way that you're told they are. Like, I don't think they ever should be.
I love that. Love that. As soon as we're coming to the end of the pod, where can people find you, follow you, all that good stuff?
To find out more about me, just find me on LinkedIn, stick it in Google, my name, or come to the website and get in touch. I like to speak to people. Like, it doesn't matter whether you message me on Instagram, Twitter, I don't use Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, comments. I will see it within about 5 minutes, I'll respond. And if you don't believe me, you test me any day, any time, like, as long as it's not 3 a.m, I guarantee I'll respond within 5 minutes, and that's how active I am on social.
I can vouch for that, because I think the awards that we were at, I literally walked in within 25 seconds. I saw you and we had to struck up a conversation, and then we were together for about 7-8 hours that evening. Final question.
Yeah.
Do you have a unpopular opinion that could potentially get you cancelled one day?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I was talking about this today on LinkedIn. I believe right now that people that are buying blue ticks are almost being taken advantage of by the social media companies. I think it's a money grab, preying on people's vulnerabilities.
Explain that.
So I think a lot of people that are buying them, obviously the social media companies are saying that, it's for verification and your protection, which obviously should be a thing anyway. You should be able to just get an ID and sign up with it. You shouldn't be charged for the privilege. They shouldn't be charging money at all, because they make money from ad revenue. Creators make content on the platform that generates eyes and views, and therefore attention, and then you can run ads on it. So they get a lot of money from that. So this whole charging people for blue ticks and verification to protect your account is bollocks. The only thing I can see it's doing is people that have always wanted to be seen or perceived to be successful in their eyes, that's what it means, or that it means that they're famous, or all this other bollocks that comes with it, are now paying for it. But the problem is, from my viewpoint, the people that I can see doing it are people who are, they're definitely being taken advantage of. Like, I'm not saying that they're unstable, but like a lot of them, it's like they're definitely vulnerable, and it's like another way to sort of prove yourself or be verified in the public eye, and I just don't think that's right. And I don't think taking money off someone at $12.99 a month is fair on those people. And it's making me cringe like fuck at the moment, like especially when friends do it and you're like, oh god, I didn't realize you're that desperate for attention.
On that note,
Yeah.
Lewis, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No worries.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to Rebels podcast with me, Shoaib Ahmed. If you've been watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you've been listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then please give us a 5-star rating and a follow. The more successful this podcast gets, the bigger and better guests we can have on in the future. Thank you.